Did you know that the very first baptism might have been a form of protest? Neither did I. I actually did some research this week on John the Baptist because I was getting ready for a discussion that we're going to have at the brewery next week. I have a group that meets there, and I always make this discussion guide. I dig up some cultural context and formulate some questions. So, John the Baptist, right? He's a guy who was known for calling the religious leaders a brood of vipers, which is a huge offense because they believed that baby vipers would actually like chew through the wall of their mother, the womb, and actually bust out of the mother and kill the parent. So that was a pretty terrible insult. Well, he thought that there was a real problem with the religious system of the day. He thought it had gotten off of the rails and deviated from what it was originally supposed to be. So what he does is he goes back to the location where Israel started as a nation, where Judaism kind of started, and he decides that he's going to do a baptism, which was a new twist on a cleansing ritual. Back in the Old Testament, there were all kinds of reasons why somebody might have to wash their hands and feet or their whole body in water. For example, if you touched a corpse, if you touched a bug that you were not supposed to eat, things like that. And also the priests might be immersed in water before they went into service to symbolize cleansing of the soul, right? So if they were going to come in contact with God, then they needed to be clean. So John was kind of toying with this concept and decided that, okay, all of us need forgiveness for what we've done to people and what we've done with this religious system because it's become corrupt. So we need to repent. So he goes back to the Jordan River where the Israelites would have crossed on their way to the Promised Land. And basically he's rebooting the religion by doing this. This would have been another huge insult to the religious leaders because they're going to be like, what? There's nothing wrong with this system. And it's really kind of a threat to their power. So John is protesting. John is a rebel. There's a really good podcast about this by Tim Mackey. It's called Exploring My Strange Bible. And one of those episodes has some more information if you would like to investigate that further. But this is what we're going to talk about at the brewery this week, and this is what the discussion guide I made is about. In Mark chapter 11, the religious leaders come up to Jesus and they say, by what authority are you doing these things? They didn't like what he was teaching. They didn't like that he was doing miracles or anything like that. And he decides he's just going to ask a trick question back. He says, well, do you think that the baptism of John was from man or from God? Now remember, John was baptizing all kinds of people, and he also baptized Jesus, which is super interesting if John's baptism was a reboot or a protest, because that's where Jesus decided to start his ministry. So Jesus asked the religious leaders this trick question. Is this protest baptism, is this from God or from man? That has some serious implications if this baptism was what I think it was. So I can't wait to hear what you think of this. Well, we're meeting at the brewery. We meet every week. If you would like to join us in Wichita, go to breweryministries.org and you'll find out all the information about the times and the locations, and there's a Zoom group and all that. Or if you would like to use our discussion guide with your friends, for yourself, or to meet with somebody at a brewery or a restaurant, go right ahead. It is at breweryministries.org. You click the free discussion guides link, and in the Exploring Jesus in the Book of Mark series, you'll find week 30. That is the guide that we're talking about here. And I'll give you one last little tidbit I found while I was researching that is not on the guide. This is my NRSV Cultural Background Study Bible by Keener and Walton. And I read about the baptism of Jesus, and it did not look like a modern baptism. I thought that was fascinating. This is what they say they believe happened. John the Baptist, we all think of him as having baptized Jesus, right? Well, that's kind of half right. It says John actually probably wouldn't have dunked Jesus underwater. He would have just supervised. What probably happened, what was customary at that time, was Jesus got in the water himself, bent over at the waist to dip himself in water. So Jesus kind of baptized himself. That's just a little bit different than what happens today. I think the origin of baptism is fascinating. I like to trace stuff to its source, so I thought that was interesting. Well, I can't wait to hear what you think about Jesus' debate with your religious leaders. If you want to send me any comments, go ahead. Email me at breweryministries@gmail.com, and we'll talk to you soon.